Good evening, everyone. It is serotonin. I wanted to do a little dig on Robert Maxwell. So, been hearing a lot about him lately, mostly since the arrest of his daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell. And so, one of the things that I found very interesting was I saw a video that someone had done the other day where they had put Maxwell's silver hammer in with some interesting updates on her arrest. And literally, that connection has just stayed with me for so many days that eventually today I decided that I was going to go ahead and start doing a little bit of digging, and I found some interesting stuff. So let's just get into it. I've tried making this video so many times, so it's really not hasn't been my lucky day. I've really struggled with this. So mostly from interruptions and technical issues. But anyway, here we go. So on top of having a publishing empire, a lot of people don't realize that Robert Maxwell was also an MP. He was a member of Parliament for Buckingham from 1964 to 1970. And in of itself, that doesn't really mean too much, but it does put him in a position of power, quite considerable power, in the 60s and early 70s, well before he had his publishing empire. So now let's go over here and we'll look at the song Maxwell Silver Hammer. Maxwell Silver Hammer was recorded and released in 1969. It appears on the album Abbey Road. Now, Abbey Road is a very important album for conspiracy theorists that enjoyed the Beatles because Abbey Road is the first album that was released after the apparent death of Paul McCartney in 1966. So, if you didn't already know this, Paul is dead. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't really know. Anyway, but let's talk about this particular um, story because it's really important. So I can't actually find the description of exactly what happened when he died. I found it earlier and then I'm struggling to find it. Like I said, I've had a lot of technical issues with this video today, but if I do find the description of what happened, I'll put it in the description box below. Anyway, basically, the gist of what happened was Paul McCartney was in his car alone with none of the other Beatles, but with a woman, and they were driving around, and they had a motor vehicle accident, and both were killed. And in fact, Paul McCartney was apparently decapitated, which is really crazy. It's really, I think, very key to understand capitals, capitalizations, capitulation, caps, all that stuff. There's some very interesting stuff going on with the head, and especially when it comes to the red scarves. They're also these guys are really big on guillotines and stuff. They're really into like they're kind of it's kind of sick, but there's a lot of head stuff going on with these head games. Let's put it anyway. So of course, the first response if you were to talk about the Paul is dead theory is, of course, most people would be like, no, that's not true. The second response is for those that do believe that Paul is dead. Apparently, was that he had suffered this accident and died very suddenly at the beginning of his meteoric rise. And they apparently thought that the world would be so devastated that literally like millions of teenagers would go crazy. So they had to cover up his death by substituting him with a lookalike, who some people call Billy Shears, Billy Pepper. He has a various variety of names, as they all do. I mean, look at Robert Maxwell over here. He's not even Robert Maxwell. He's Ian Robert Maxwell, and then he's also this name as well. And I'm sorry, but rose from poverty to build an extensive publishing empire. I mean, look at the guy. He pretty much runs the entire world. Pull the other leg, people. I mean, come on. It reminds me, and I'm not even going to get into that, but it reminds me. Actually, I will get into that, of Miss Scarlet from Clue. You ever see the movie Clue? Anyway, there's a whole speech that she gives towards the end of the movie about selling information and selling secrets. And isn't it just very interesting that the actress Leslie Ann Warren happens to look almost identical to Arizona Wilder? Anyway, that's my little Easter egg for this particular video. You can have fun with that if you want to. But anyway, let's get back get back to where we all belong. Okay, so Maxwell Silver Hammer. Ringo Starr even remembered it as the worst session ever and the worst track we ever had to record. So let's have a little look at the lyrics of Maxwell's Silver Hammer. It mentions three women's names: Joan, Valerie, and Rose, and also PC 31. They also talk about his teacher, who doesn't really get mentioned, and he is described as Maxwell Edison. Edison is just another stooge used by the deep state, just like Einstein. I'm not entirely sure who Joan, Valerie, or Rose are, but I'm very curious. And where does the number 31 come in? I'm not too sure either. So, as I'm digging around trying to find a description of how Paul McCartney died, don't I fall into this page. I'd forgotten about their manager, who goes by the name of Brian Epstein. I go digging around Maxwell Silver Hammer to see if I can connect it to Robert Maxwell, and I find myself an Epstein. Are you kidding me? Well, who's Brian Epstein? Well, Brian Samuel Epstein was the English music entrepreneur who managed the Beatles from 1962 until his death in 1967. He died of a drug overdose, was ruled as accidental at the age of 32. 32, skull and crossbones. 1967, well, geez, isn't that just 1 year after Paul McCartney died? And died of barbiturate overdose, apparently. Very interesting. So, what does Epstein mean? Well, Epstein is one of the oldest Ashkenazi Jewish family names, and it is probably derived from the Gaulish Appa, the sense of a river, and German Stein, so literally getting water from a stone. Okay, and we talked about the whole Jeffrey thing. I don't know if other people, if anybody's picked up on that video, but there was a Jeffrey, Geffrey, and then a Jeffrey Jeffrey, and then a Jeffrey Jeffrey, or just RY, and all of those spellings have been connected to Jeffrey Epstein in documents. So it's very likely that none of these people own any of these names. They're all given names to describe who they are and what they do. Okay, so let's go back to one more thing about Paul McCartney and Robert Maxwell, and this is Linda McCartney. Why is Linda McCartney important between these two men? Well, first of all, before Paul McCartney died, hang on a second, we'll just have to go right here then to do this. Before Paul McCartney died, he was actually dating another woman. Hang on a second. And her name was Jane Asher. Now, Jane Asher was an English actress, author, and entrepreneur who achieved early fame as a child actress. Okay, so she was MK Ultra from the beginning, and she was his girlfriend from 1963 to 1968, which is very convenient because it spanned the entire time that he would have died and up until the point that he died, and then after. Then after that, he was married to Linda Eastman, and then her. Linda Eastman, let's get into it, married Paul McCartney in 1969, when he wasn't Paul McCartney anymore, but he was Billy Shears. And who is Linda McCartney? Linda McCartney is formerly known as Linda Eastman. And Eastman Kodak are the people that own the Kodak. Everything. All of it. If you were in the business of blackmailing, you would probably need to have some kind of photographic support. And having an entire company, an entire institution support you would be very convenient, don't you think? Now, I don't know exactly why Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon their head, but it definitely sounds like if you were being suppressed or blackmailed or anything, you would usually refer to the work that you did as the worst thing you ever did. The worst track we ever had to record. They didn't record this because they wanted to. It was the worst one they ever had to record. Why did they have to record it? I don't know. Is this a message for other people, or was this a message for Billy Shears, or was this a message for Paul? Who was this a message for? Was it a message for other people? I'm not entirely sure, and I don't exactly know why it was Maxwell Silverhammer that came down upon their head. But if he was a member of Parliament for Buckingham, and there was any kind of suspicion that Paul had, apparently, as to the hand that was guiding them to the future career that they were being forced to have, which there is a lot of evidence when you get into these websites, these ones, you can see there's I mean, and they really cover their butts with so much of this information, a lot of this technical analysis, looking at things like the size of eyes, the shape of ears, nose columns, apparently that little thing that the divot under your nose that goes down to your lip, things like that, things that can't be changed very easily with plastic surgery. They've got all this covered. They talk about what was going on behind the scenes at the time, how people were feeling, what was happening. Um, and to be honest with you, it seems to me like he was getting a sniff of Tavistock or something. He figured he started noticing that things were not going to be quite exactly as he expected they would. And so maybe he was trying to pull back, pull out, say, no, we're not going to be that band. We're not your band. If the rest of them were all up for it, who knows what's to say about who. But I'll tell you what, Paul's dead theory has legs, people. It's got some serious legs. I'm also going to add into the description box below what the Tavistock Institution of the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations was all about. You can find out about what exactly that was. A couple of different ones on that. This one is a very good one, the Taboo blog. I looked at that one quite a long time ago. And I've already got the Plastic Macca one up here, and some great pictures. There's always tons of pictures to be found for this. There are so many incredible pictures and proof. Wayne Coyne, now that's a name I know very well. And it's very easy to see it once you start really looking. It's so easy to see it. Linda McCartney, Brian Epstein. You know what? I think I actually managed. I think I pulled this off. I think I did the video. Paul, oh, did you see that? Paul is still with us. Are you kidding me? The case of the missing beetle. Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that part. Yeah, apparently after he married, right before and after he married Linda Eastman, he decided to just not be around for a couple of years. He just kind of went into hiding. So interesting. It's a way for them to absolve themselves from all the lies that they're telling. Anyway, all right, guys, before it gets interrupted and I can't post it, I'm just going to go ahead and post it. So thank you for listening. And thank you, God, for letting me get this video done finally. All right, I'm going to go listen to Linda Paris now. Have a good night, guys. Talk to you soon.